Hello and welcome. So today we're going to be factoring the following expression completely, if possible. Now when I'm looking at this, anything factoring, you look for a GCF first. Now as we look through some of our terms, we'll notice 16 and 9 is the first two numbers. 9 is 3 times 3, 16, 2 times 8, right? 3 cannot go into anything 16, which means there is no GCF, and we're good to keep going. Now, how to factor, you generally look at the number of terms that you have. All right, 4 terms generally tells you factoring by grouping. And factoring by grouping normally just does a split down the middle, look at your first 2 terms, look at your last 2 terms, look for GCFs. So let's start. Let's see where we go. So this first 2 terms, there's no numbers in common between 16 and 9, which we just said, but there is a variable, right? They both have a, so I'm going to pull an a out. And we're left with 16y squared minus 9. Now, on the second set, I look at that and I'd say, okay, well, we have a negative in front, so that generally means to pull out a negative. Number-wise, we have 27 and 48, which 3 can go into both. Now, you also have a variable. There's the letter b between both of those, so 3b is the GCF there. We pull it out and we're left with positive 9 minus 16y squared. Now, that looks really similar to our first parenthesis, right? We have positive 16 versus negative 16. We have negative 9 versus positive 9. The only difference between these parentheses is a sign swap. So that means that the negative that we pulled out, that swapped both of the signs on the inside, we actually didn't want to pull that out. So if we pull out positive 3b instead of negative, that keeps the 9 negative and the 16 positive, right? It just keeps the original signs. And then I'd say, okay, do they match now? They do, because you can just rearrange this. Negative 9 plus 16 is the same thing as 16 minus 9. We can just rearrange. So I'm going to do that so it looks a lot more similar. 9 plus 3b, 16y squared minus 9. All right, so exact same parentheses. So the next step is to say, okay, one final GCF, 16y squared minus 9 is the same between both parentheses, so we're going to pull it out. When we do pull the first parenthesis from the first term, that takes out our parenthesis and leaves the a. When we pull it out on our second term, yay, it leaves that 3b. There we go. Now we factored by grouping. Now remember, the last step is to make sure it doesn't factor further. And how you do that is you just look at the exponents on those variables. You'll notice that we have a square on the y, meaning this parenthesis might still factor. Anything that doesn't have an exponent larger than 1 will for sure not factor any further. So I'm looking at this and I'd say, okay, y squared minus 16y squared minus 9. Now, if this factors, it's going to do so with a polynomial identity, specifically one of the polynomial identities with 2 terms, either your sum and difference of cubes or sum and difference of squares. Now, for this one, I guess, look at the power on your y. That is a square, which means the cube formulas, kick them out the window. You're not going to need them, right? The only option, because we have subtraction here, is a difference of squares, meaning you have perfect square minus perfect square. And if you do, then it's going to factor to that first number plus the other, first number minus the other. Okay, so it's all right. So do we have perfect squares? Well, 16y squared is the perfect square of 4y. If you were to take 4y times itself, right, you would get 16y squared. 9 is 3 times 3, so 9 is a perfect square of 3. And booyah, right? That tells you that you can, or you do have, the difference of squares, polynomial identity, because you have 2 perfect squares, and you have the subtraction between them. So that means that this is going to factor further into the first perfect square number, plus the other, perfect square, minus the other. Now, don't forget that if you switch the parentheses, if you do minus first and then the plus, that's totally fine. That's not going to make any difference, right? If you swap these 2 parentheses order-wise, that's like saying 2 times 3 instead of 3 times 2. You get the same thing either direction. It's just going to be different order, and that's okay. All right? Is there anything else that factors? Well, does anything else have a power of 2? No, which means that this is as far as it goes. You'll have 3 parentheses as a final answer, and that's totally fine. Put it in your answer box, call it a day. Thanks for watching.